Hi, first graders. Today we're going to talk about how cool cats say no. But before we begin our last lesson, let's do a little bit of review. So last time we talked about how we get sick and how we get well, right? We take medicine from our parents, from our grandparents, from the doctor, from the nurses who give us permission to take that medicine, right? So we want to make sure that we are always taking medicine only if we have permission. We do not want to take somebody else's medicine, right? So when we get sick, our heads might hurt, our throats might hurt, we might have a stomach ache, we might feel maybe dizzy or nauseous. We want to make sure that we tell the person who takes care of us that we're not feeling well. Remember we talked about the different events that takes place when we are not feeling well? Okay, so first you start to feel sick, then you tell that person who cares for you that you're not feeling well, then they're going to maybe take your temperature, ask how you're feeling, what hurts. Then if needed, they're going to take you to the doctors, right? And then the doctor's going to tell you either you can get over-the-counter medicine, which can be at the store, such as like Tylenol, or the doctor might have to write you a prescription for prescription medicine. And prescription medicine is designed just for the patient, right? So we don't want to take anybody else's prescription medicine because that is not for you. That's for them. The doctor prescribed it to them, not you. Okay, so we want to make sure that we only take medicine when we have permission to take it. So in other words, we want to make sure that we are not taking anybody else's medicine. So now let's go ahead and get into our new lesson regarding cool cats say no. It is important to know when to say no. For example, if your friend wanted you to throw a rock at someone, what should you say? Think about that for a moment. If your friend wanted you to throw a rock at someone, what should you say? Right, you should say no. Why should you say no? Well, because throwing rocks is not a safe thing to do. So when someone asks you if you want to play your favorite game, what do you say? You usually say yes. Why? Because you want to play that game. It's fun. When someone asks you if you want to eat your favorite food, what do you say? Yes. Why do you say yes? Because you want to eat that food. That's right. You know what you want, so it's easy for you to say yes to what you want. But there are other times when someone might ask you to do something you should not do. And you will say no in this case, right? Like, for example, if someone asks you to throw a rock, you're going to say no. If someone wanted you to eat a gallon of ice cream, what would you say? Well, first of all, a gallon of ice cream, that's a lot of ice cream. And we know that's going to give us a stomach ache, right? So we're going to say no. Why should we say no? Because it's not the healthy thing to do. What's that, Carmen? Well, Miss Sarah, I know what I want. I want to be safe and healthy, so I know when it is important to say no. It's important to say no to things that are unsafe and unhealthy. That's right, Carmen. We must always say no to the things that are not safe or not healthy. Join our last CASA class today, Carmen, while we learn more about when and why we should say no. Alrighty, Miss Sarah. Sounds lovely. Alright, class, so let's continue to talk about knowing why to say no. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and read some stories to you. I want you to listen very carefully. After you hear each story, I will ask what you should say to the person in the story. Alright, so let's go ahead and start our first story. So Bobby and Leon were walking their puppy on a leash. Bobby looked down and saw a pack of matches in the street. He said, "Look at those matches, Leon. Pick them up and I'll show you how to light them." So let's stop and think. If you were Bobby, what would you say to Leon? Okay, some possibilities here. You could say, no, Leon, don't pick up those matches. It is dangerous to play with matches. You could start a fire and really get hurt. All right, good job. Next. Lynn lives near a pond. She is not allowed to swim in the pond unless a grown-up is with her. One hot day, Lynn and Samantha were playing outside. "It sure is hot," said Samantha. "Let's go for a swim in that pond. No one can see us, so we won't get caught." So let's stop and think. If you were Lynn, what would you say to Samantha? Well, you could say, "No, I won't go swimming without an adult. We could drown or have an accident and there would be no one to help us." Good job. All right, let's move on to our third story. Willie came home from school with a sore throat. His parents were not home, so he told his 9-year-old brother that he did not feel well. "I think I can find some medicine for you to take. I'll go look around in the bathroom cabinet," said his brother. So let's stop and think. If you were Willie, what would you say to your brother? Well, you could say, "No, I should not take medicine from another child. I could get very sick. I will wait until a parent comes home." Good job. All right, our next little story here. Tiffany and Lisa were on their way to the park when a stranger pulled up in a car and said, "Excuse me, girls, could you show me how to get to the grocery store? Climb in the car and we'll go for a ride." So let's stop and think. If you were the girls, what would you say to the man? No, right? You could also say, "Then we should run to the nearest, safest place," okay? So you can say that to your friend, and then you can quickly run to the nearest, safest place, okay? It's not safe to ride with strangers. Okay, our next story here. Jesse and Tyron were watching a baseball game. Tyron noticed a half a cup of beer left under the bench. He said, "Look, Jesse, let's share the rest of this." So let's stop and think. If you were Jesse, what would you say to Tyron? Well, you could say, "No, beer has alcohol in it. Alcohol is harmful to children. Children should never drink alcohol." Good job. All right, our next little story here. Beth and Nicole were walking home from school one day when they found a baggie with pink and yellow pills in it. Beth said it looked like candy and wanted to eat some. So let's stop and think. If you were Nicole, what would you say to Beth? You can say, "No, Beth, it is not safe to put these things in your mouth if you are not sure what they are. You should tell an adult." Good job. Okay. Sonia had a cold and was coughing. Her sister Christine got her medicine but forgot to get her a spoon. "Just drink out of the bottle," said Kristen. So let's stop and think. If you were Sonia, what would you say to Kristen? You could say, "No, you should never take medicine without measuring it carefully. You should never drink medicine from the bottle. You should ask your parent or another adult to measure the medicine with a spoon." Good job. Okay, we have two more stories. Walter and Jermaine were playing ball at the park. They met some older kids who were chewing tobacco while they played. They asked Walter and Jermaine if they wanted to try some. So let's stop and think. If you were Walter and Jermaine, what would you say to those boys? Well, you could say no. Chewing tobacco is harmful. It has a drug called nicotine in it. It can make you sick. All right, last one here. Sam and Tony were playing at the playground. They saw some older kids smoking cigarettes. The older kids asked Sam and Tony if they wanted to smoke one. So let's stop and think. If you were Sam and Tony, what would you say to those boys? You could say no. Smoking cigarettes is harmful. Cigarettes have a drug called nicotine in them. Smoking can make you sick. All right, good job, guys. Congratulations, first graders. We have completed our Too Good for Drugs course for your class. I am proud that you have learned you are too good for drugs. It's time to take a pledge now. I would like you guys to please stand and raise your right hand. Repeat after me. So go ahead and please stand and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I pledge to take good care of my body. I pledge to take good care of my body. To make safe and healthy choices. To make safe and healthy choices. And to remember that I am too good for drugs. And to remember that I am too good for drugs. Okay, awesome job. You may have a seat now. Congratulations for completing our 8 lessons. But this does not have to be the end of our learning to make good choices. We will continue to use these skills we have learned all year long. Okay? Carmen would like to say one more thing to you guys. I had so much fun learning with you guys. Thanks for all your help. I appreciate it. Remember, if you're curious, to always stop and think, okay? You always want to make sure that you talk to a trusted adult if you're curious and you're not sure what to do. Remember, too, to tell people how you feel. Remember those feeling words. Sad, mad, angry, excited, proud. Remember to stay healthy and put good healthy things in your body like fruits and vegetables, and stay away from unhealthy things such as cigarettes, lots of sugar and alcohol. We want to stay away from medicine that's not ours. So thanks, class. Thanks so much. I sure appreciate it. You guys have a wonderful rest of your year. If you have any questions for Miss Sarah, please email us. We'd love to hear from you. Take care, class. Bye, everyone.